he did the ultimate no. You don't do that, and he did that, and I'll never take him back. So it's a done deal. He killed it. He did. He really did.
Why do men cheat?
I mean, I don't know. I don't have the age-old remedy for stopping a man from doing what a man wants to do. To each his own. Unfortunately, with infidelity, it's a very serious thing, and you either have to work through it, or either you recognize that this isn't obviously the place that you want to be. You know, and all men don't cheat. I think it's just kind of a product of maybe your emotion or maybe your insecurity as a man.
Okay, y'all, let's not play. This one's about to get deep. We've got love, betrayal, scandal, and some seriously dark secrets bubbling to the surface. So buckle up. Now imagine this, growing up in a world where love, power, and intimacy are all just part of the hustle, where you're thrown into before your 16th birthday? Like, how is anyone supposed to build a real healthy relationship in that kind of mess? And baby, that's exactly what people are saying happened to Usher. Let's talk about the whispers that are turning into full-blown screams. Because it looks like Usher's past might explain everything about his messy love life, especially with TLC's Chilli. Yup. The same Chilli who had hearts melting in the 90s and early 2000s. Their romance was iconic, but now fans are saying it was doomed from the start because of what Usher went through with none other than Diddy at the so-called Puffy Flavor camp.
Well, I mentioned that earlier, that he said about Stevie J. The Usher part, that's a touchy situation, man. You know what I'm saying? Because I had a certain feeling, and I felt a certain way when Usher got on Shay Shay, and I don't mean to mention other people's platforms, but he got on Shay Shay and he mentioned how great and how good Puff taught him and everything. You know what I'm saying? About the business, right? I know, and people know, that was around that in that time that Puff and Usher did have a situation. And that situation led Usher to the hospital.
And child, behind the scenes, it seems like Chilli has been quietly confirming what Kim Porter may have known all along, that allegedly forced himself on a young Usher, leaving him so traumatized he ended up in the hospital. Yes, you heard that right. This ain't about Usher being a cheater. It's about asking what happened to Usher and who was responsible. Let's rewind. Usher met Chilli after signing with LaFace Records, the same label she was on, and guess who was assigned to be Usher's mentor? Yup. So at just 14 years old, Usher packed his bags and moved to New York to live under Diddy's roof. And honey, what happened there might have changed his life forever. Eventually, Usher and Chilli got together. She popped up in his music videos. You remind me? Boom, it was over. And Chilli didn't hold back. On Atlanta's Q100, she flat out said Usher committed the ultimate no. Translation, he cheated. And no, she was never taking him back. She told that same show, if someone cheats one time, you don't wait around to see if they'll do it again. So yeah, it was clear Usher broke her heart. On VH1's Behind the Music, Chilli opened up even more, saying she'd heard rumors about Usher stepping out, confronted him, and he admitted it. I felt like a fool, she said, like everybody knew but me. And even in 2013, nearly a decade later, Chilli was still clearly carrying that hurt. She told Us Weekly, sometimes you're just supposed to be with people for a reason, not a lifetime. But then she added, I'll always love him forever. He was my first adult love, a real love. But here's the twist. What if Usher wasn't just a cheater? What if all that emotional distance, all that drama was really pain? People are saying whatever went down during Usher's Diddy years, he carried that trauma into every relationship, including the one with Chilli. And she, being there from the beginning, might have seen it all. And while nothing's been officially confirmed, if even part of this is true, baby, it puts everything in a whole new light.
You know the word on the street regarding that marriage and what it's all about?
Well, it is what it is.
It is what it is. But since you're in Atlanta, you can take us in a little bit more. So what is the word on the street and what that marriage is about?
We're going to hold that for a later date. But what you think you heard is what's on the street.
Okay, so he's how you doing?
Wow. Well,
I'm going to write you a note.
Let's go to a commercial break.
So what happens when you take a 14-year-old kid, throw him into an industry full of predators, and assign him to someone with questionable intentions? Let's be honest. There have been so many stories about Diddy allegedly being on the DL and hooking up with Usher. It's disturbing. Jaguar Wright, for instance, she spilled some scorching hot tea, claiming that a lawyer once walked in on Diddy and singer Christopher Williams during a very private moment, and they didn't even stop when they realized they were being watched. Woo!
When she walked in, the door wasn't locked, so she didn't think twice about just walking in. And when she walked in, she saw Christopher Williams performing on Puff.
Then there's Gene Deal, who claimed he personally saw a man running naked out of Diddy's hotel room, allegedly. But come on, this is not just random gossip. These stories are adding up.
And he said, yo, Gene, watch the door, don't let nobody come through here. And I said I watched the door. If I watched the door and him and a man ran out naked, and I said that, ain't nobody told me that. I saw that myself. I'm telling you what I saw myself. I'm not repeating nothing that somebody told me.
And Exhibit, yes, the rapper once said, gave him the gayest night of his life. Not even exaggerating, that's what he called it. He said he went to a New Year's Eve party hosted by Diddy in Florida with Superhead. Diddy pulled him aside and told him Superhead caught some footage of him doing, well, things with his fingers where the sun don't shine. Called her the devil for it. Then he took them to a VIP club where allegedly they saw two men kissing and another guy completely naked. And get this, Exhibit was shocked. But Diddy, he was chill like this was just another Thursday night. So with all these rumors stacking up, people aren't even surprised anymore. They're starting to believe Diddy may have had his way with Usher. And that trauma, it didn't stop with Usher. The streets are now saying that Usher passed it on to Justin Bieber.
I'm mad that people aren't more mad at Usher because somewhere along the way he went from a victim to a procurer. Like, let's just be honest about Usher. Is he a victim or is he a cooperating agent?
Yup. Let's talk about Justin. Just like Usher, Justin started spending way too much time with 40-something-year-old Diddy when he was barely a teen, and Diddy out here promising him fancy cars, private mansions, you name it. But something changed. Suddenly, Justin and Diddy weren't seen together anymore. And there's even footage of Justin looking super uncomfortable when Diddy questioned why they stopped hanging out. Y'all, the tension in that clip, it's eerie. Now, there are reports floating around that both Diddy and Usher might have taken advantage of Justin. Again, I'm just repeating the rumors. We haven't seen the receipts yet, but it's out there. And then there's the talk about Usher being on the DL himself. One guy even said Usher seemed a little too at home at a gay club. He described one night after a performance where the whole crew ended up at a gay club by accident. But the vibe? Usher was deep in convo with an older gentleman, real close, like face-to-face close. I thought they were about to kiss, the source said, but then I remembered. This is Chelsea, anything goes. And when asked if Usher had fun that night, I know he did. Now here's where things get real spicy. Usher's name came up again, this time in the explosive lawsuit filed by Lil Rod against Diddy. Now, Usher's name wasn't explicitly written out, but one little redacted clue set the whole internet on fire. The lawsuit talked about an unnamed artist who performed at the Super Bowl and had a wildly successful Las Vegas residency. Hello? That description screams Usher, and the context, even messier. Allegedly, Diddy was out here bragging to Lil Rod about his sexual encounters with two well-known industry figures. One of them allegedly being Meek Mill, the Philadelphia rapper who used to date Nicki Minaj, and the other, the mystery Super Bowl performer everyone's convinced is Usher. The tea just keeps boiling over. Now let's rewind a bit, because Usher might have hinted at all of this years ago in one of the most overlooked interviews ever. Remember when Usher was on the cover of Essence magazine? Oh, he was giving smooth businessman energy, talking about launching new ventures, taking inspiration from moguls like Martha Stewart, Russell Simmons, and yes, even himself. But baby, the moment the interviewer asked him about his time living with Puffy, everything changed. The energy, instantly stiff. Usher didn't deny anything. He just said, I want to save some stuff for my book one day. Excuse me? That's not just a throwaway line. That's code for I've seen some things and y'all are not ready. He didn't say no. He didn't laugh it off. He literally admitted there are stories he's holding on to for the right moment. So what exactly happened in those Puffy camp days? What secrets is Usher saving for that memoir? Because baby, the streets are not waiting. They're already speculating.
I let Usher tell that story. But how dare you say a man that you gonna give him a pass Bro, you know I know. Let me reframe you on something. Remember Usher? We was at the Swiss Hotel. Puff had Kim in the room. Had one of Keith Sweat's baby mothers in the big room outside the master bedroom. He came outside in his robe. She gave him a fellatio right there. His back was turned to me. She gave him a fellatio. You knocked on the door. I came and opened the door for you. Puff went in the room. You came in the room and kissed that girl dead in the mouth.
Let's pause and remember, everything tied to this scandal is alleged. But let's be real, when you hear the same names tied to the same disturbing patterns over and over again, you have to start asking questions. Like, how many of these so-called mentorships were actually just grooming situations? How many young artists were tossed into exploitative environments disguised as training camps or artist development programs? And who's really out here protecting these kids when the cameras are off? Because at the end of the day, people like Usher, people we've admired for decades, might not just be celebrities. They might be survivors. Survivors of deeply twisted, power-abusive industry dynamics that nobody wants to talk about. And Chilli, she was right there from the beginning. She saw the change in Usher, felt the pain in real time. That emotional unavailability, the cheating, the breakdown of trust. Maybe it wasn't about being a bad boyfriend. Maybe it was all connected to trauma, too deep to face. And Chilli was the closest thing he had to love, and maybe the only one who really knew what went down. So now the question is, will she speak? Will Chilli, one of the most respected women in the game, come forward and say what really happened behind the velvet curtain? Will she confirm what Kim Porter allegedly knew, that Diddy had a disturbing level of control over Usher's life, and that maybe Usher never recovered? Because it's not just gossip anymore. These stories are snowballing, and if Usher's ready to tell his truth, you better believe the industry's about to shake. And let's not forget, Kim Porter tragically passed under circumstances that still don't sit right with a lot of people. She reportedly knew everything about Usher, about Cassie, about the secrets hidden in those mansions and parties. If Chilli's stepping forward now, it's not just for closure, it's justice for herself, for Usher, and maybe for Kim too. And what about Justin Bieber? If the cycle really did continue through him, and if Diddy's mentorship wasn't just mentorship, then we might be looking at a pattern that spans decades, like y'all. Where there's this much smoke, you better believe there's fire. And don't forget how Usher always carried this quiet sadness with him, even in his peak career days. When he was topping charts, selling out arenas, making women faint with just a glance, there was always something heavy in his eyes, like he was battling something that success couldn't fix. Now we might finally understand why. This isn't just celebrity drama. This is about an entire system that exploits vulnerable youth and disguises it as fame. It's about what really goes on behind those billion-dollar record deals, 5-star penthouses, and exclusive invite-only parties. The glitz, the glam, the trauma. So as fans, as people who've grown up with Usher's music, we're not just asking what happened to Chilli and Usher anymore. We're asking what happened to Usher and who let it happen.